All right, so the other night we did the fuel tank and got the pump rewired and all that, so we should be good. We did a little stress test on it. I put 5 gallons in the gas can. Shouldn't have any problems. That should also lighten up the tank a little bit. I need to move my tools. Bucket's basically empty. And then we talked about rebuilding that line. So the line coming off. Let me start by dragging the tank out, and we'll take a look at that more closely in the daylight here. All right, and when you're working by yourself, you just figure out some way to make it work. Set it onto a creeper, which makes it nice and easy to roll around. This is the old creeper with the broken wheel. But anyways, this is the line that we had that was all chewed up here, or bent, kinked, whatever you want to call it. So probably technically could just cut the line and just put a new, or probably even move the splice down if I wanted to. Since I have extra coil that I used as my emergency, we may end up using that as a replacement piece altogether. I don't know. I hadn't figured out exactly what I want to do yet. But I do know that I want to replace that. So let's get to it. All right, so I went ahead and got my line disconnected. And this is the kit that I used on the side of the road. This is one I've already had when I built the fuel system to begin with. It has a kind of operates like a caulk gun, but a pressing handle. And then there's kind of an anvil setup that holds the line in place while you press the line, or the fitting into the line. Pretty slick little setup. This is a Dorman kit, as you can see here. But what I want to do here is I potentially could carefully cut the old line, split it down the length, and then reuse the fitting. I do run a risk of having a leak there, but I think if I can cut it carefully and I don't gouge or scratch the actual inner coupling piece, the receiving barbs, then I should be good. If not, the ends are pretty cheap, and I'm going to be buying some more line anyways, because the emergency loop was the remainder of the line that I had in the kit, so I want to go ahead and replace that anyways. But we'll, like I said, we'll carefully see if we can extract this off here and see if we trust it going back together with it or not, and we'll go from there. All right, so I just scratched it a couple times, cut into it with a box cutter razor blade, and the line kind of split open under tension, under its own pressure. So we should be able to just extract the fitting off of it, and then we'll inspect that and see how it looks. All right, so that just slid right out, and we'll take a look and see if we have any major scratches or gouges in this thing where we were cutting. It looks like there's a little indentation there. I believe that's where I was cutting. But I'm going to run my finger over it and see if it actually looks like it's actually if it's just a line or if it's actually cut. But we'll see. So we're looking pretty good on that fitting. I think we're going to be okay to reuse it, but I just want to show you the kit here. So the top part is all the different fittings that it comes with, as well as the setup instructions on how to use the anvil and press setup. And like I said, there's quite a bit of fittings in here. Some of these I ordered additional ones and stuck in here. And the other thing I need to order is some additional replacement fittings that I used on my emergency loop. But anyways, we'll get this setup opened up here, and then the bottom part underneath here is where all the extra hoses are. I can't remember what else is in there, but most of the stuff here is going to be in the top half. And then they even have, this kit even comes with, if you needed threaded fittings to barbs. That's kind of old school muscle car era stuff, and then they've got all kinds of different fittings. So most of what I needed was all just plastic stuff, or nylon, I guess they call it. But the other nice thing is it actually gives you part numbers on the lid in case you want to reorder something, so that's always nice. And they even give you like 2-pack, 5-pack. So we will get this set up and show you how this tool works again. Here's the setup instructions as described already by me. But basically this is the setup here, and we have our line just barely protruding out, and it's supported here on the back side in the clamp area, and then we just need to put our fitting into the tool, which I have just enough space to do that. We'll get that squeezed down and pressed into it. We'll need to make sure we get lined up as we get closer, but that's it. It's simple. Okay, so we are lined up, and it's a two-handed job to line up, and then it's a one-handed job just to squeeze it into place. And that bottoms out the tool onto the holder part. So we're ready to grab our release and just pull this thing apart. And we've got ourselves a new fuel line connection. And we'll take the holder apart and see how we did. Okay, let's take a look and see how we did. Got the tool disassembled. Yeah, buddy, that looks nice. Get that to actually focus for you guys. So, the white clip is still retained on the pump side. Now, given that this is a replacement, I don't have any major concerns with it, but since it is a replacement, I think I'm going to put this on the frame rail side or the forward side of the tank, just in case it leaks. It'll be easier to detect than if it's leaking up on top. So I will probably reverse the direction of my hose itself here, but other than that, this should be ready to go back on the truck. Okay, I lied. I said I was ready to put the tank back in, but we have not addressed the external harness side of this. So we still have the crinkle split loom we pulled off, and we need to also tape up that one power wire that had the little guy hanging out the side of it here. So we will get both of those addressed here. We'll get that taped up, and then we will also put the split loom on and tape that as well. Okay, well, got it all taped up. It's not the prettiest job, but that'll work. And we'll remove this random piece of masking tape, and we should be ready to get the tank back onto the truck. So we'll get it as far as we can with the creeper, and then we'll probably have to do a little bit of sliding. We have to go a real narrow spot we can fit it through between the 4-link bars that are right there, and then where the frame drops down here, there's a little spot we can stick the frame, stick through that opening, and then we'll turn it sideways and then lift it into position. All right, and this is what I was talking about here. So we have the 4-link bar that drops down here, and the frame that drops down here, and we're just going to slide right through that little window, and we'll turn it sideways and get it into position. That is pretty close. We'll have to lift up each end and set it on a floor jack, and then we can work on getting it lifted into position. But overall, that was the game plan. Just kind of squeeze it into position is the hard part. All right, check this out. I'm actually pretty proud of this. So I was fighting with the floor jack, trying to get both of them lined up at this. So I was fighting with getting the floor jack lined up. I had one of them underneath it, but every time I tried to roll the tank to get the second one underneath it, the whole tank would roll. And I was like, man, I really just need a second set of hands to lift up the back of this tank. And so I do. I have a ratchet strap. Now I should be able to have enough space to get the second floor jack positioned under the back of the tank. And then we can start working this thing up into position. So I have to remember that next time I have to drop a tank out by myself. I just went up to the bed cross member there, and then the inside one is hooked on the fuel tank cross member. So all safe places to lift from, and we're not really holding a whole lot of weight here. We're just trying to lift it enough where we can get the floor jack underneath it. Yep, that'll work. Now that we have it in position, we can take the ratchet strap off just so we don't have that in our way, and we'll just keep lifting until we get the tank in position. We will have to watch out for our filler neck location here. It's got to go up and over the frame rail, so that's a little tight fitment there, especially after I added the battery cutoff switch up there. And we'll have to keep an eye on this fuel line here, make sure we don't pinch and kink it like we did before. So I'll have to keep an eye as we lift in position just so I don't cause damage to that fuel line. But we're looking pretty good. We'll keep lifting. All right, got it lifted in place. I still need to get the straps put underneath it here. I did get my fuel line routed and my evap line routed, and I still need to get them all secured to the frame rail, but at least they're in the correct position. I didn't see anything obvious orientation-wise with the fuel feed line in this location, so honestly not really sure how we would have gotten it damaged. Let's see if I can get you up there to see that. So right there is right here is the actual feed line, and as you can see, I've got plenty of airspace around it to wiggle it, move it around. So I don't know if maybe it caught on something coming down one time, or maybe I just had it routed wrong. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look like it's in any sort of harm's way. I mean, that's the factory location for it, so who knows what happened there, but we'll continue getting the straps put underneath it, and then we will also get our scatter shield, if you want to call it that, or skid plate if you want to call it that, but that's going to be the tank protection plate that keeps the tank safe in case the drive shaft were to let go, being the two-piece drive shaft. So I will get that installed in just a moment. All right, I finally got the tank fully installed. I know the view is not very great with me under here with it, but also got the skid plate installed, or scatter shield, whatever you want to call that, and that just runs off of two 8mm bolts with some J-nuts. That's going to be piggybacked off of my carrier bearing, and then on the back side I have a little extension plate, and it's piggybacked off of the factory fuel tank connection bolt. So it just gives me that extra peace of mind here on the driveline. So nice little piece. That came off of a 97 F-150 with the extended cab long bed that had the factory two-piece in it. And then I just kind of bent the bottom edge just to kind of give me a little bit extra ground clearance for whatever reason. It was a little long, but we're good on that. It's also possible it just maybe installs in a slightly different position, but anyways, we got the tank installed, happy. Has also a friendly reminder here. The reason why I have the back of the tank cut off. Is to allow for the battery box to sit in here. This is a trailer battery box that is mounted flush with the floor of the floor of the bed. Houses a battery and gives me plenty of room there. I did have to lose about 4 or 5 inches off the back of the tank to make room for that, but fits in there pretty nicely. You would not know it's there from the top side, which is always cool. So that's that. Last thing we need to do before we get this thing back on the ground is come over here and do our filler neck connections, our hose clamps there. So we will work on getting those guys installed. Looks like the main filler neck's a little on the short side. I don't know if the tank is slightly further away or if I've got a weird bend or something up here, but I'll adjust that, see if I can get that clamp in there in a good spot, and we'll get back with you here shortly. All right, that wasn't too bad. I was able to get the tank shifted just slightly towards me and then pushed on the hose from the backside, and it went right back where it's supposed to be. This hose clamp is there to connect the filler neck onto the body. There's a little tab that sticks off here. Also, friendly reminder for those of you new to the channel, this pipe, the vent pipe, I had cut and welded because the original location was like over here. And when I added the battery cutoff switch, again, closely placed to the battery, I had to make room for that. So this hose or the pipe got modified, welded, and then that allows me to put these right next to each other. So no biggie there, but wanted to show you that. So we are actually done under here. We can go ahead and turn the ignition or battery on and then turn the ignition on, see if we can hear fuel priming up, inspect for leaks on our repaired fuel line here, and then we'll be ready to actually do a test fire. All right, well, I already got the battery turned on, and we'll see if we can get this fuel to prime up or not. I hear it. That's a good sign. Yep. Nice. I'm really happy she's running again. I still need to get it back down on the ground, but this is a big step to get it running again. So we'll get the garage cleaned up and get her out on the road here shortly.